back to depth and a topic that you guys love to talk about,
Minutes police
especially the
back,
Minutes
baby.
Police. Minutes Police are activated here. Tom Thibodeau needs to trust the bench more. And here's what I want. For the people out there that saying Tom Thibodeau trusts the bench more, please answer Brian's question. Please state, you got to state who you want to play, how many minutes, when they should play. I respect Troy because Troy said at least give some of these guys some shine when it's a blowout. He's not wrong. Troy's not wrong about this at all. I think he makes a fair point. Could some of these guys get some more run when it's a blowout, when they're up 20? I agree. Could Tom Thibodeau have some more trust there? I agree with Mr. Troy NYC on that. But if you're going to tell me he needs to trust the bench more, my thing is about it is how. How, who, what kind of minutes? I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to hear your plan. That's all I'm saying. Not saying to anybody, you say this is going to be ridiculous. Not saying that. But what we are going to ask Bryan here is, does Tibbs need to trust the bench more? And Bryan has to come up with the people that he needs to trust more to put out there. So, Bryan, real or not, Tom Thibodeau needs to trust this Knicks bench a bit more.
I fundamentally believe in depth. So I want to say yes. The problem is, if you look at the bench, we were giving praise to Campaign for his play a while ago. That has since, it looks a little bit different now. For the season, he's only shooting 42%, which for a backup point guard, you kind of want better than that, for example. Precious Achiuwa, he's made an impact off the bench, but he's playing 19 minutes a game. Do I want to advocate for more Precious Achiuwa minutes than that? Not necessarily. I feel like that's kind of what he's there to do. And in spots, you get to 25 or whatever the case may be. I think in a roundabout way, here's what can be true. Everyone in the starting five could probably play 1 to 2 fewer minutes each, maybe 3 in the case of Mikal Bridges, who's at 39 per game. I think you can do that, but I don't know if there's anyone on the bench where I'm like, they absolutely have to play more, because Landry Shamet is there for his shooting. He's shooting 23% from 3. Precious Achiuwa is where he is. Campaign, 15 minutes a game for Campaign. That's kind of what you want out of Campaign at most. You feel like if it's going to be 20, 22 minutes a game, that's too much Campaign. And it really comes down to the kids. That's really what it comes down to. It comes down to the Ariel Hawk-Purdy's, for example, the Tyler Koleks, Dadier. And coming up, because we've talked about, hey, maybe in blowouts this could be the case, you have Oklahoma City, Milwaukee, and Detroit at home. Milwaukee, Detroit's a back-to-back. Detroit, sneakily, you've seen them this season. This is a team that could make the play-in, maybe the playoffs, the way the Eastern Conference is looking. This is not Detroit from last year or the year before. And then you have at Philadelphia. That's the second of a back-to-back for Philadelphia. They play Oklahoma City the day before. So we'll see how that one goes. Minnesota, they might blow them out again. Let's be honest. Julius Randle's return also. That's an exciting one.
I will be in the building for that.
We're going to be talking about that next week, actually.
Yep.
And then, you have Atlanta, then at Brooklyn, Sacramento, Memphis, Nuggets, Lakers, Rockets, all at home. There's not a lot of blowout opportunities coming up. So I think it's more of a marginal thing where, you can trust the bench a little bit more from a marginal basis. So, this is somewhat real, but there's no one right now other than the rookies where you're they absolutely have to play more, and the rookies probably need to prove themselves more to their head coach in order to get those minutes. So it's difficult.
Yeah, it depends on how you feel. If you think that the rookies have to prove themselves and practice more to get the playing time, then you're going to be like, okay, I rock with that. If you don't, and you think that they should get, let's say what Bryan says is, Bryan said you shave 2 minutes off. I'm going to throw this number off for every starter right now. That is 10 more minutes a game that you can divvy up however you choose to feel like. Let's say, I'm just going to throw this out. Let's say you just decide, even if it's just for the first half, okay, you're going to get 5 minutes to Pacome Dadier, 5 minutes to Tyler Kolek. Do I think that can help the team? Yeah, I do.
I'll probably do 4 Dadier, 4 Hawk-Purdy, 3 Kolek, or switch Dadier and Kolek, whatever. But you could do it. But that's 11 minutes. That's stupid. You can do one of them, 4 for one of them,
just
and
comes
then 3
down
for
to
2 of the others. Yes.
Do you think there's value in doing that? Right? Do you think that helps make the team better? Gerard Hector, our friend who I mentioned before, would say yes, because they're going to learn from the mistakes they make. They're getting real NBA minutes in minutes that count. You're not just throwing them in blowout situations, although I agree with Troy that you could find time to throw them in blowout situations. There's learning experiences for them. Are you really doing I think it's a fair question. Are you doing the best by your team if you're not letting these young players truly develop and get NBA minutes? All these guys we've seen, Kolek kill it in the G League, which shows those guys are NBA players. Dadier has put up big numbers in the G League. We've seen some solid numbers from Purdy in the G League down at Westchester. But should these guys be learning? I personally think you should. I think you could find some first half minutes for them. Okay. Maybe not in all the games, maybe not in some of the bigger games, or so against some of the more versatile teams. Could you find minutes for them Sunday against Milwaukee? Yeah, I think you could. Sure, I think you could.
Thin teams against like a thin team.
Like
Milwaukee,
why not?
Denver, because Denver's bench isn't like awesome either.
But here's the thing. You're right to do it against the thin teams, but you also kind of need to do it against the deeper teams because that's how the deeper teams beat you because they have depth and you do not. Yeah, maybe true. If you start playing against some of the thin teams, then you can actually have them ready for a spot minute or two, whatever it may be, against some of these deeper teams, right? You gotta get them ready at some point. And I think Tibbs in his mind, I don't know this, but I just think he's gonna go for it every chance he can get and tries to squeeze as much he can get out of his starters. And I am not sure. I do think the Tibbs running guys into the ground narrative and the stuff people would say, I think that's overblown. Just like I think it's overblown when people say he doesn't play kids. Like I've just proved to you, I could just prove in the last 4 years, kids that he did play, that as rookies that had significant rotation minutes. He's played guys. You know what his thing is. It's about defense. I'm not saying that I agree with it because I don't agree with it 100%. Yeah, is Tyler Kolek going to mess up and make some bad defensive rotations? Probably. Is Pacome Dadier going to make some mistakes? Yeah, probably. Is Huck Purdy probably going to make some mistakes? Yeah, probably. We've seen Jericho Sims do this. We've watched this. So, but they got to learn somehow. You can't gain experience if you don't give experience. So at some point, you got to do it. It's a chicken and egg thing. I don't want to, again, not saying that Tom Thibodeau has not played young players because he has. That narrative needs to die. It's not true, especially during his Knicks tenure. He's also not played young players that some of y'all out there who are Knicks fans thought were good and thought should be playing minutes and damn sure didn't deserve playing minutes like Cam Reddish.
I was going to say Alonzo Trier.
You're going way back. You're going way back to there.
But that wasn't him, though.
But
that was before.
Cam Reddish to play so bad. And it was like, and then they were mad when they traded Cam Reddish for Josh Hart, which nobody would say today because that would be ridiculous, right? Like, it would be that was a great trade. And I knew that at the time. I think it's real, though. I think Tibbs needs to what I would say, if we want to say trust the bench more, he needs to find some first half minutes for some of these young guys.
For the kids. It's them specifically.
Just because of what I said, which is, well, I'm with everything that Bryan said about minutes. I agree. I don't really want to be, if you're playing campaign more than 15 minutes a game, that is a problem, sir. Yes. If you're playing pressure 2 or more than 19, 20 minutes a game, that is a problem, sir. But what if those guys go down? Now you're asking a lot out of Tyler Kolek. What, are you going to not trust it further and shrink the rotation even more? Or you're going to have to start living with, can I trust him for 10 minutes a game? Well, how do you have him get ready for that?
Correct.
Give him a couple of minutes here in the first half, especially against some thin teams, as you said, my friend.
And if you're not, then you have to go shopping with Mitchell Robinson then and just get pieces, like get a couple depth pieces. Like I know you might not get a ton, but I feel like there's going to be enough interest out there because the contract it's not an awful deal considering like today's NBA. Fine. Yeah. And I know teams don't want contracts that go beyond 2020.
I just don't know if people want the contract, which has a year after this year on it, with someone who's very injury prone. That's the trepidation I think you're going to have for teams in terms of his value.
Let me give you the contract.
We'll see. He's got 1 year left, I believe, at $13 or $14 million. So, yeah. We got Keen Sauce here who says, Kolek, let him run the second unit already. So, Keen Sauce, let me know this. Do you want to see Kolek, when you say run the second unit, so we are clear, do you want him to run the second unit over campaign? Like you want him as the primary backup point guard? Is that
sounds like to me? That's basically campaigns.
So you're done with campaign. Just
15, 16, 17 minutes per game. It's 15, but sometimes he plays more. Also,
Yeah.
Deuce McBride. I mean, I don't think this is an over Deuce McBride comment.
Nah,
I'll
I
say
don't think.
that.
I don't think that's what Key
Mitchell
said.
Robinson's 14.3 this year, 12.9 next year, and that's it. Which teams seem to be gearing up. Like there's a couple people who think in NBA media space, there's a couple people who think NBA free agency is quote unquote coming back in 2026 because of
Mm,
where we're heading with the second apron. Like free agency might actually have to be an option now because teams may be more willing to just let players walk, like a Paul
hmm
George, like Washington arguably should have done with Bradley Beal, like the Bulls maybe looked like they were going to do at one time with Zach LaVine before signing him to that extension. We'll see how Jimmy Butler's situation in Miami plays out, but yeah, I think Mitchell Robinson's contract is absolutely movable. And if you can do that, then, whatever. And the other piece of this is the whole depth thing, to put a bow on it, is if Mitchell Robinson, if he can give you anything, if you're willing to wait longer and wait for his ramp up process, however long that may be when he actually does come back and is cleared for contact and is actually playing, like he can fix a lot of their issues from a defensive standpoint if he's healthy, but there's just a lot of ifs and he's gotten hurt a lot. So it's a tough situation to sort of navigate through. But I'll give the Knicks front office credit because I've told you this is the smartest that they've been in my lifetime.